name is Alex. I have an Instagram and also YouTube Love Sugar Show. So thanks for taking your time for interviewing.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. So the first question that I ask anyone that I ever interview is, how's everything going? Not just in your music life, but also in your personal life as well.
Oh, things are a little messy in general. I don't know. The entire world seems to be on fire right now, and trying to deal with that. But
Mhm.
I am excited about the album release, and we had a great show last night. Got to hang out with a lot of our friends, play with Something Is Waiting, which are a band that we've been friends with for a very long time. So that's been a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome. Well, since you brought it up, can you tell us a little bit more about how the show went? Like what songs you played, how you felt while playing them, just kind of like an overview.
Sure. This was at Liars Club, which is a legendary Chicago dive bar, supposedly haunted. Lots of storied lore around the place. We've played there many times in the past, so it was great to get back there for the first time in a while. We had lots of good friends there, so that was great. We played the entirety of the new record, and then we, uh, you know uh, allowed the people to say one more song a few times and then played one song off of our first album. That was a really good time.
Well, since it's like known to be haunted, I have to ask, did you ever see anything creepy there happen?
I have not. I've mostly seen a lot of people get very, very drunk there.
Okay, I mean, drunk people, haunted things, sometimes they kind of have a similarity, so
And if you're drunk enough, you can start to see all kinds of stuff. Um, but
true.
yeah, it gets included on all the ghost tours and stuff. It's just a cool spot. I just really enjoy hanging out there.
Well, awesome. So, release was yesterday. I have to ask, how are you feeling today?
So far, the response has been really strong, really positive, which is great to see. A lot of what I'm hearing is along the lines of, that this is like a big progression from our previous album, which was a while ago already.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear. That's kind of what you want to see is that people are thinking that like you haven't taken a big nosedive, that instead you're pushing forward, refining your sound, improving on what you were already doing well, and also working on anything that was, falling short in the past. So far, we're very happy about that.
That's awesome. Were you like nervous about it or more like excited?
I was feeling pretty confident in the material. Yeah, I'm a pretty small part of the music as far as I'm concerned, right? It's to my mind, really driven by what my guitar player Patrick and my drummer Chris and also our bass player Aaron are all doing, and the way that they play together and how tight they are together and how
Mhm.
creative they are with the sounds and the rhythms and everything. And I do my part, but
Yeah.
because I tend to think of them first and foremost, I know that I'm very proud of them for what they've been doing in order to continue to step up their craft and everything. Yeah, I was feeling pretty good about it going in.
Well, shout out to them to help make this awesome album.
Thank you.
Um, when I listened to the album, it had like, I want to say like a raw energy to it. Like you could really feel like the passion in this album. How did you get that incorporated into it?
Uh, well, first of all, I tend to think of us, even though we play like this weird mishmash of genres, as first and foremost, basically a punk rock band, right?
Yeah.
We started off way back in the day, as a more straightforward, like crust punk kind of band. And while the sounds really evolved, it's been really important to me and to the other guys to kind of keep that energy, keep, some sense of that rawness, that sense that it could kind of go off the rails at any second, even though, these are very skilled players and, that they're in pretty good control of their instruments. That's something that we always want to keep it in the forefront and something that we keep in mind when we're thinking about, production decisions and things like that. We're not gonna have like a whole bunch of triggered drums or anything like that. We don't want it to be too clean. our drummer, he only does single kick drumming, and I think that's a huge element in what makes our sound kind of unique and also maintains that sort of punk rawness to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, and as far as my own general anger and the occasional feelings of despair about the world, I think that helps too.
Yeah. Would you say like all those elements together kind of just like help you keep the raw energy from like start to finish in the album?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. Like a lot of what I'm doing for my part is really fueled by me sitting there looking at, what's on the news, what's happening, just to
Yeah.
people's economic conditions, people getting blown up, across the ocean, things like that, and just, wanting to express that in a really raw form that people can relate to and will find cathartic and, you know, maybe to help some people to think about certain things a little differently, maybe, who knows? But I think all of that kind of fits in together and kind of makes it, even though, again, like we are drawing from all these different wells in terms of our genre influences and everything, kind of makes it all cohere in a way and gives it sort of an overall sense of a shared mission.
So you said like, there's a lot of despair and of course like with things going on in the world, it's a little chaotic. Do you have like any of that in the album? Like for listeners who haven't heard the album, like what will they experience?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I cover a lot of ground lyrically, certainly. It's definitely a lot of jabs at our current leadership in this country. Some stuff about uh, things that are happening in terms of tech and the influence that that has on our culture. There's a lengthy screed about AI and what that's doing to us, about the concept of enshittification and how that's affecting all these platforms that we are kind of forced to use. Also, some stuff about Palestine, inevitably. Things about the Christian right and how they're affecting the rights of trans people and anyone else that they view as different. So yeah, I think a lot of that is there on the record.
So it sounds like just a lot of different ideas, like kind of like I guess things are going on in the world right now. So it's very
Hmm.
relevant. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Like back when we did our very first record, I always liked the idea of for this band having the politics kind of on its sleeve because of that crust punk background. I felt like that was appropriate, that it sort of worked well with the style of music. And I was kind of worried back then that, hey, some of this stuff might be a little too topical. It might start to seem kind of dated and silly. Like when we were writing some of those songs for the first album, it was 2016, and I was seeing, the Donald Trump campaign and being like, oh man, I'm very upset about this and the way that they're demonizing immigrants and things of that nature. But if this guy loses and he goes back to being a troll on Twitter in, a few months, this is going to seem a little silly, maybe, in a couple years. Uh, Turns out I didn't need to worry about that. And so I kind of learned that lesson, which was that, as much as I would like to see things in the world improve, there are, some very strong forces out there that are doing some pretty dark things, and they're not going away, even if they might shift and change the way that they talk over time. They're still going to be there. So if I
Yeah.
just try to write about those things in a way that, isn't so specific that it can be nailed down to an exact date or something of that nature.
Yeah.
I think these things will sort of stand the test of time, to the degree that any, heavy metal album is ever going to.
Yeah, maybe the next album, everything will just be fixed in the world and it'll just be like so positive. Just
That seems unlikely, though. Uh, we're still, in the very early stages, but something I am thinking about right now for the next one is to maybe step away a little bit from that level of topicality and maybe
yeah.
sort of look back into the past a little bit and sort of talk about some things that have happened in history that we can kind of relate to things that are happening right now. And like I'm doing a lot of research right now for that, because we're in the early stages of the writing process. And I think it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Well, it definitely sounds like you put some thought and, like really deep emotions into writing. It's like, especially like going back doing research and, writing about relevant things. Is that like, I guess, therapeutic for you, or is it just something where you just want to raise awareness of what's going on?
The screaming itself is a little therapeutic, I think. Like I think that helps, like as a pressure valve. As far as the actual writing part goes, it's just I'm a literature nerd. I'm someone who just loves poetry and novels and essays and things of that nature, and I just like to put bigger ideas down on the page. There are a lot of bands out there that like write about how much they love pizza or whatever, or dragons or, serial killers. And that's cool. I love a lot of those bands, but it just never really got me going. Like, if I'm gonna be
Yeah.
up there screaming, I want it to be about something real. It doesn't necessarily always have to be politics. There have been a few songs over the years that were, about something that we experienced, driving in the van, or, something that happened to a friend of mine or something like that.
Yeah.
But always something that's kind of rooted in a real experience of some kind. And like I was saying, I feel like that goes well with sort of the overall energy of the band. If it was a different type of band, like if we were, a straight up tech death band, for instance, I
Yeah.
might think about it differently.
Well, just an idea. I think bonus track for the next record is definitely a song about how much you love pizza because I can relate to that.
No, I mean, I do love pizza. We are a Chicago band, so we are deep believers in the importance of pizza. And uh, of course, we usually get the thin crust, the tavern style. The deep dish is for tourists, just so everyone's clear on that. It can be delicious. I have it maybe once every 2 years or something. 99% of the time, it's a thin crust.
That
I know there's a lot of confusion about that out there.
Actually, that makes me feel better because I'm not really a big fan of it. I love thin crust, so that works.
No, like if you are gonna come to Chicago and get deep dish, get Pequods. It's amazing. It also takes forever, and is expensive. And there's too many people, but it's very good, and it's worth experiencing at least once or twice in your life. But yeah, most of the time, get a tavern pie. It's gonna be great.
Well, awesome. So I have to ask you, what is your favorite thing about this album? Whether it's like a riff, a lyric, the creation of it, like what is like your favorite thing?
You know, it's kind of what I was saying before, just listening to these musicians who I've known for so long. Like the guitar player and I go back to college, and we're getting middle aged now. So it's been a while since college. Our drummer we met, not long after we met each other. This
Yeah,
band sort of developed a little later than that. But we go way back, and our bass player Aaron, he's the most recent addition to the band, but he's been there for a few years now already, and we've also known him for a long time. So just being able to see all those guys, develop together, really gel together as musicians, as sort of an ensemble. Like you can really hear it in a bunch of moments, I think, on the record where like they're doing something really complex in terms of the
yeah.
timing and like these wild jumps in sort of style that you only hang together because of how good they are at playing together. So that's my favorite thing. Uh, and I especially
Mhm.
like the AI track, Obsolete Machines. I feel like that like covers so many bases. It's a little longer, so it like delves into different types of territory. And also, I am really annoyed with AI.
I was gonna say, what are your thoughts on AI?
Yeah, so for my work, I write like for different types of organizations. So as you might imagine, the that sort of work is really endangered by this emerging technology,
Yeah.
and when you look at the end product, which is just like this endless parade of like very similar sounding text that has no real personality a lot of the time, uh, don't love it. Don't love that at all. And I'm very worried about the effects that it's going to have on the broader labor force, on the broader economy. I don't know if the bubble of investment is going to burst anytime soon. It seems like it's inevitable. That's going to cause a lot of misery if it does happen. Yeah, and like it's one part of the bigger problem that I think I touch on throughout the record and that I'm very worried about in real life, where we just have these unaccountable oligarch figures, these
Yeah.
billionaires controlling more and more aspects of our daily existence, and they are just so out of touch with, the needs, wants, the feelings of ordinary people. Like they're just so locked into their weird Silicon Valley bubble, or their right now Washington D.C. bubble,
Yeah.
that yeah, it's very disturbing.
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually just did an interview before this one, and they mentioned the same thing, the political thing,
Mhm.
the money thing, and AI. And I'm like, okay, like this is something that people are starting to think about, which I think is great, especially, when you do an album that focuses on that, like maybe you give new ideas to people who maybe haven't thought about it before.
Yeah, one hopes. And if nothing else, hopefully they have a good time listening to the thing and headbanging, and that's good too. Yeah,
So
you
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 could
don't
take
have
this
to agree
album.
with me.
So you can either just listen to the album and have a good time, or you can dive deep. So you choose your own adventure.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I think most people who listen to metal are not necessarily looking for like real deep engagement with lyrics and ideas, and that's fine. Because riffs and sick drumming are really cool too. But
That is true.
if you want, it's there.
Exactly. So I want to go back to, I know you played a few shows, actually even just last night and a few days ago. Do you have any fun stories to share from that?
The most recent little run we did was just kind of around the Midwest. It was with our friends in Black Cross Hotel, who are great, like sort of goth, post-punk, industrial sort of band, who are also from Chicago. Those are all guys who are like us, sort of scene vets, and a couple of them we've known for a really long time, and we got a chance to really bond with those guys. We had a really good time in Iowa City, particularly, I would say. Um, it, I feel like a lot of bands might overlook Iowa City a little bit because it's just kind of a little spot in the middle
Yeah.
of the Midwest. But you can have a really good time there, especially if you can play an all ages show. We played in a DIY spot that was like a garage converted into a pretty nice little venue.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and the Black Cross Hotel travel with their own lights, so they like were lugging all this stuff in there, and the guy who lived there was like, "Wow, I think this is the most equipment anyone's ever brought in." But it was really fun, and you had sort of a young leaning crowd who were like energetic and moving, and you know like a lot of people who are in middle age now. I get a little worried sometimes, when I
Yeah.
see some of the things in the news about like how younger people are getting influenced by, these, manosphere types and things like that. So it's always a relief when I see young people who are still like seeking out weird, interesting stuff to do and, connecting with art, reading books and, responding to big ideas. So that part was great. And then also we just hung out with, the Black Cross guys late into the night. Ended up at some Chinese restaurant that's open until some ridiculous hour of the morning. Drinking Coors and eating Chinese food. And so that was a really fun night. And yeah, looking forward to doing more shows with those guys in the future.
Well, that's awesome. And I like that you bring up like books because I also love reading as well. And it's funny when you're like sitting in a waiting room waiting and everyone's on their phone and you're just like, okay, I'm reading my book and no one else is. I'm like, hey, you guys are missing out.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big nerd as far as books go. I studied English literature. If you want to know anything about the British Romantic period. I have a lot of information. But yeah, I think it's really important, especially as we have this AI takeover, that as much as possible, people are slowing down a little bit, trying to disconnect. I know there are people who even people who are considered digital natives are starting to kind of step away a little bit, say, okay, I'm not going to have the social media apps on my phone yelling at me constantly. I'm not
Yeah.
going to ask every question to an AI platform. There's probably not enough people doing that yet, and I hope there will be more. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for the the gradual, more intense engagement with ideas that you get from, sitting down with like a dense, interesting text as
Yeah.
opposed to having your computer spit out things at you. And I know that sounds horribly boring and lame to most people, but that's okay. I'm sticking by
I mean, I'm down for it. I love both,
it.
but I also am like, okay, I need to disconnect and just do something that doesn't involve my phone.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things to do is just sit in my living room, put on some records, and just read a good book. So what I'm saying is I'm old. That's what I'm telling you right now.
Oh, I like those same things too, though. So what does it say about?
Great. Yeah, welcome to the club.
So I know this album has a lot of personal ideas and themes in it, but which song out of all of them means the most to you personally?
Hmm. Let's see. I already talked about the angry at AI one. So I guess another one I'll call out is the third track, Splenetic and Moribund. That's one that sort of came out of the whole COVID experience.
Yeah,
Our last record actually didn't come out until after things reopened, but that was because we had recorded it just before things shut down and just didn't have a chance to like put it out and play shows or anything like that. So we just held on to it because we
yeah,
didn't think, people would, even hear about it if we tried to release it during the height of the pandemic. So
yeah,
Splenetic is a song that kind of sums up a lot of how I was feeling about that whole experience and sort of watching the effects that it had on people's mindsets, on the ways that they related to each other, the sort of broader social fabric. You see a lot of people who never quite recovered from like what that experience of isolation and of only connecting to the world through, like YouTube videos that maybe weren't the best fact checked in the world.
yeah,
Um, they never quite came out of that fog, and like even people that I like, people who I think are good people, but they just have some weird ideas that were sort of implanted during that period, and it's clearly done a lot of damage to us, politically and in terms of people's ability to just relate to each other on a day-to-day basis.
yeah.
Um, and so that's one that I think, has some resonance for me because it's something I just still see all around me every day.
So which one like challenged you the most on the album and why?
So like the place that I tend to be challenged is when they're doing some weird stuff rhythmically and I have to kind of figure out how to write around it, right?
Hmm.
So one that was like that is the second to last track in Shittification, which is a shorter track, but like there's sort of like these little bursts of lyrics sort of throughout because I was kind of trying to find the right place to insert it, and
Yeah.
I think it worked out. But yeah, that can be tricky, especially when our guitar player decides he wants to do some like Dillinger Escape Plan stuff in terms of the timing. I'm like, oh man, this is going to take a lot of listening and a lot of counting syllables in order to figure out exactly how to fit it in.
But the good news is you did, so hey.
Yep, figured it out. And yeah, just overall, I tried to push myself a little bit in terms of like doing different kinds of voices or characters.
Yeah.
On top of what I had already done on our previous records. I always try to mix it up a little bit. There are a lot of bands where the vocalist will maybe do kind of one style throughout, or maybe two, and I try to make it a little more varied than that. I grew up, listening to a ton of, Mike Patton projects and things like that. So I've always liked the idea of the vocalist who can kind of go into a lot of different versions of their voice and try to adapt
Yeah.
it to the music. I think it works. And there are definitely a few things that I tried on this one that were a departure from what I'd done previously. So that was a fun challenge as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So I have one last question here for you. Is there anything you'd like to say to old fans, new fans, or anyone interested in listening to the album?
So if you're an old fan, there's not that many of you, and I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming out to our shows and buying our stuff. And I hope you still like this new one. I think you will if you liked the old stuff. Uh, New ones, which hopefully there are a lot more of. Welcome. Really appreciate you checking out the record. I hope you'll also dip into some of the older stuff. I think there's some good tunes there as well. And I would really love to see you when we head out on the road again. We're gonna be announcing a bunch more dates for the summer and the fall. And we want to hang with you. We're very friendly, so you should come say hi.
Well, awesome. Again, for anyone who is watching the interview, the cool thing is you don't have to wait to listen to this album. It came out yesterday, and I'll put all the links below so you can just click on it and give it a listen to.